And here we are again. Matt. Matt is if you guys didn't know, Matt is undercover lately, so that's why his camera was blurred. How's it going? What's new?
Man, it's going good. I'm having fun with Unreal Engine today, really.
Cool.
I was doing some of the other stuff that we were talking about yesterday, and I decided to take a break on that and just have some fun in the engine and see what I could break. Yeah.
So what'd you break?
Lighting systems today. I think I actually found a bug in Engine.
No, a bug in video game engines?
Yeah. This guy. There we go. Nope. Eventually I'll buy a new microphone, Tofu, but it's not happening anytime soon. It's not that it's quiet, it's that it's not attached. So let's see what I can do about that.
Cool. All right, so here we are. Man. Another fun-filled week. We got some big things today. We have we talk a little bit about the game, because everybody loves a little bit of the meat. We got some sales updates. We'll get to that in a little bit, and we're gonna world premiere our trailer for Fracture Point. So how freaking cool is that?
Nice and simple.
Just give me half a second here, folks. I want to just make sure that everything is streaming and working. Everything but YouTube. Hold on. Hey, we're new at this. We're new and trying. Right. Oh nope, everything's live. I am a happy camper.
Everything's live. Yay!
It all worked this time. For some reason, Twitch didn't record last week, but whatever. We'll figure all this out.
And we still can't figure this out.
Right. We're old. This whole technology thing.
What are we at now?
What are we at? We're at 8.
Yeah.
We're at 8. But for some reason, it took the old name off of this. I don't know.
I don't either.
7, 8. It's all good.
I don't know where my microphone settings are, guys. So you're just gonna have to fucking deal with it.
Yeah. Is he? Yeah, you're a little low.
Until I get and Bill, this system doesn't really have anything for me to do with that.
You should get a Yeti Blue Echo.
Eventually, I will, but not right now. Let's see if this works. Audio. Let's turn off noise cancellation. Let's turn off suppression. And that. Yep. Let's try that.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't hear any different, Matt.
Well, whatever.
Oh, now I can hear the difference though because Big Money.
Hey guys.
Nice and loud. Ooh, echo.
You
have reverb on your mic?
No, is that better?
Yeah, you just sound like you're in a. I mean, not in a bad way. You sound like you put reverb on and a little bit of a bass mix.
I turned into Peter Frampton.
There you go.
I'm coming alive.
Hey, man, welcome back. We haven't seen you in weeks and years and months and stuff. How's Hawaii?
It's great. I came back with a tan. You can see where my rash guard ended. My hand is red. The rest of my body is white.
Is that right?
So no, I had a wonderful trip. I was telling Matt earlier, I had my first kind of bad scuba diving experience. Got stuck in a current, which was very exhausting to swim out of.
You lived.
Very uncomfortable.
You lived.
I lived, yeah. I stayed out of the ocean the next day and went hiking. That's how I would describe the experience.
Are you certified?
Yeah, I have an advanced open water certificate, which pretty much means I'm certified to dive down to 30 meters or 100 feet for our American friends. So, but I learned everything in metric for scuba diving, so which is kind of convenient. Yeah, the math is easier than metric. Everything's like a power of 2.
Yep. I mean, you could use yards.
It's just easier. Like in metric, like
4 yards.
Like right now we have, I don't know, in American units, I think it's like 700 psi at the surface, pressure from the atmosphere. In metric, it's just one. We got 1 bar of pressure on us.
Atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, 1 atmosphere.
It breaks the rule of game design. Bigger numbers are better.
Oh, I much prefer metric now because because every 10 meters you go, the pressure doubles.
Right. So
at 10 meters deep, you have the 1 bar from the atmosphere and 1 bar from the ocean. So you have 2 bars. Then 3 bars. You get 4 bars of pressure at 30 meters deep, which is interesting. It'll crush if you bring a can with you or an empty plastic bottle. At about 2 bars of pressure, it just crumples underwater.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is fascinating to see because it looks like I call it the invisible hand, just kind of crushes it underwater. And then as you...
Is what, 70 something feet?
It's 101.
101.
Or 103 maybe. And so that's my limit.
I haven't been that deep.
Yeah.
3 first downs. That's all you need to know.
But it's incredible for anybody that hasn't been diving. There is so much life just a few feet under our feet that we never see. It feels like you are on another planet.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
I love it. It used to horrify me.
I don't need to know what's down there. I don't want to know what's down there. I'm good not being in water.
Yeah, I was like that most of my life. I saw Jaws at the neighbor's house, probably when I was 5 or 6. And that movie kept me out of the ocean most of my life until I got certified for scuba. And that's probably why I like it, because I got over a lifelong fear that I had. Like, Matt, if I was at the beach, you would laugh at me. I would never go past my knees, maybe my hips or waist on like, if I'm feeling brave. You know, and my friends would tease me and like try to scare me into the water or scare me out of it. And
that's mean.
Yeah, it was really mean.
On a lake, so it's like, of course, I swam since birth.
Yeah, so like in a lake or river, I don't make the assumption the fish are larger than me. Maybe there's a catfish as big as me. But I was terrified of sharks. Yeah, there's some pretty big catfish. But I always felt safe in a lake or a river.
Sharks,
I won't tell you that all the sharks are going up the rivers in Florida now.
They don't bug me because they're just doing what they're doing. Like, and they don't really want to eat you. They bite and let go. So as long as you get bit somewhere that isn't vital, you're good. You'll survive. Yeah, sharks don't bother me. Water does. I don't want to drown. That's a bad way to go.
I have poked sharks with my GoPro. They're pretty shy. They might be. I think they might be nocturnal. So in the day, they just kind of rest motionless under like a rock outcropping or coral, and they look like they're just taking a nap.
No, what are those nurse sharks? So
in Hawaii, it's like white tip reef sharks or black tip reef sharks, and they're only about 6 feet long. I've seen.
We totally derailed this.
Yeah, sorry.
We've gone way off the rails.
All right.
Needless to say, I love the ocean animals. I like them where they are. And I don't want to drown, so I'm good not being in water. The best place you can go to not drown is land.
My temperature, my blood pressure drops when I cross over and onto Cape Cod, like by 20 points. The ocean has always felt like home to me. Maybe I'm a shark. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that now. Now I want to do rescue diving, and then I think I can do a dive master course after that and become an instructor.
Diving. Shoot, man.
I hired a guy for QA once that used to drive subs for Woods Hole, which is the oceanography place around here. And so like all the, Ballard and all those guys that, do the Titanic and all, they all go out of Woods Hole. And so he came in and it was like, you wanted to get into the game industry. And I was like, well, what was your last job? He was like, I was driving subs. I'm like, you're hired. I'm like, because if you can drive a sub, you can QA a game, right?
Oh, no doubt.
And shout out to him.
Actually...
He's he may stay in the industry, worked on Madden, worked on Avengers, is off doing all sorts of cool stuff. So
that's awesome. That's something that people don't really, either they don't know or they don't think about, but there's so many like crossovers and things like, just because you weren't in games doesn't mean you can't get into games.
Yep.
There's so many skills that are applicable outside of engine work and coding. It takes so much to make a game.
Yeah, one of the things that I enjoyed about this team when we first got together was it wasn't a lot of game experience on the direct team, but the enthusiasm made up for it. And you guys, everybody was a really good coder, or really good at art.
Yeah.
So it transferred over, and like the mistakes we were running into, were, too many polys, too many triangles, like that. This wasn't built right for games. That kind of stuff we ran into, and the occasional like, rigid stuff. But for the most part, it was like everybody converted over pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, I didn't really find a problem with it because I've been in every industry you can think of when it comes to tech. I've written stuff for just about everything. And games wasn't that different from any other high available software I've ever written.
No, the only difference is it has to be a little bit more bulletproof because players, I'm saying this in a very nice way, but players suck because they will take your software and beat it like a horse, and so it's like you can't just be like, oh, okay, it works. It's like, no, it has to, it has to take scrutiny like a banking app would, right? Or players will just exploit the hell out of it. That's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. It's every day is a QA test. Every day that you're in production is a QA test. It's pretty wild.
All right, let's hear back to this fracture point thing that we're doing. As much as I'll talk about fish all day long, Journeys of the Dead Horse, yes. That's my life, Alice.
Yeah, I'm actually down for that.
What, beating a dead horse?
I mean, just like Journeys of a Dead Horse as a title for a Western, I'm down.
It's a very static shot. Not much goes on.
Not much. Yeah, not much gameplay.
All right.
We're getting some. Jared, we're getting a lot of
you got to mute, bro.
Noise.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tappity tap tap. You're like me, Mr. Mechanical Keyboard. Yeah,
I got one.
The only way to fly.
Works.
That's the real reason I don't want to go back to an office, is that everybody will hear that coming out of my office, like continually.
I have no interest in going to an office because community.
Yeah, well, I just did that. I just drove my kids to PAX,
and also,
so I had to go into Boston, and it was 20 minutes in and an hour and a half out. Boy, I don't miss that. All right. Anyway,
they can pin and quote me on this. Your company culture, your foosball table is not enough to convince me to commute ever. your once a month lunches that might stop
But
right after I
free
get
bagel
hired.
day.
Not enough. Oh, great, because I can't buy my own bagels.
We had free banana day at Turbine. No joke.
Well,
like if you
nice.
like bananas, I guess.
That's good.
But I'm serious. They had like somebody would bring in like 2 bushels of bananas and just throw them on the table in the break room. Fruit flies, yeah, there was a lot of those.
Potassium.
Hope you. The tarantulas didn't show up. All right, so Fracture Point.
I get a lot of tarantulas.
Not that I don't, that we can all hang out and talk, but let's get some information out there because it is kind of a big day for us. So under the covers, what I've been working on is I've been playing a lot of other action RPGs. I've been really looking at how some of their progression systems are going on, and like finding the things, as much as the things that I like, but the things that I don't like. But and I'll be honest, the biggest thing I don't like about almost every one of these is they're all just grimdark. They're all doing exactly the same thing. They're all like, evil god shows up, blah, blah, blah. Its art style is always, with the exception of like Torchlight, they're always, it's grimdark. It's like gothic and bloody and it's great, right? Like, look, I'm a fan of Diablo and I'm a fan of Path of Exile. They're fantastic games. But oh my God, can we have a chuckle a little bit? So here's the big points of our world and our narrative that we've kind of decided on. Where we're totally leaning into the 90s arcade experience. And we're taking all of our inspirations from the game styles that were popular back then, right? Which in some ways is also giving us some good ideas for kind of kooky little Easter eggs and stuff that we can bring forward. But the basic gist of the story is the reason that 90s arcades disappeared was there was this guy in game who decided that he wanted to, unify all the game worlds together into one thing and did zero testing on his new gadget, hit the button, and basically fractured all of these games. And a mutant version of him ended up into our world, which right now we've been calling the Hub, and we've kind of went around on a few different names, but we'll just call it the Hub for today. It's probably not what we're going to name it, but we all just, so where our game starts is all these old games have basically broken and shattered, and through the magic of pixels have ended up with fractured versions of themselves in our game. And your job is to try to revitalize and make some of these worlds come back to life, right? Don't let these old games be lost in the very meta way, right? Of course, we're all doing it from the inside. It's not, the player is, our little foozle guys running around. Questions, Matt? Big money?
No, like that's honestly what we wanted from the beginning is, again, just add some humor to this thing. Yes, something terrible is happening. Yes, the world is being destroyed, but we can still laugh. And as we solve it, kind of the Mr. Magoo solutions is sort of the way we're going.
Right.
It's the perfect blend. I think the story works.
Right. And, so some of the things that we wanted to be, yes, the idea is of save the world it's pretty heavy, right? But we wanted the journey to be a little bit more lighthearted and, nostalgia jokes, both from, arcade in gaming, but also from the real world and also from movies and stuff of the 80s and 90s, right? We'll all kind of, meld in there for the nudge, nudge, wink, wink jokes and, dad jokes or whatever terrible things we end up putting in here. So like on top of like playing our ARPGs, I've been watching a comedy a day just to kind of get a vibe of like what kind of comedy would work in games and which kind of comedy doesn't work in games. And of course, I have my druthers. I'm a big fan of, Monty Python and, Jim Carrey and, slapstick, I think works really well in our medium. And the point that, haha, look at this works really well in ours, but, we'll go beyond that. Actually, it's just going to all be shit and piss jokes, and that's it.
That's it.
That's it. It's just fart jokes.
The money, man.
The whole thing. We're actually going to change the name to Fart Point.
Yeah, and I think that's it, man. As sophomoric as we can go.
Absolutely. So the other big thing that I've been looking at is player progression, and if we break down player progression into a singular bucket, is all of these games usually have 2 to 6 different ways of character progression. And they're all really the same under the covers, but then it's kind of deciding like how you want to expose that. And so this is
where do you spend your gems?
Where do you spend your where is And so I'm looking at there's basically 3 places that you're spending your cachet to make yourself more powerful. And the first is that we're going to have a passive. I call it the web. It's the sphere board from Final Fantasy VII. It's sort of like the one that they're doing in Path of Exile. And each point is, you earn a point for doing either actions or just by, leveling up. And you spend points. And, so that brings up your dexterity or your ability to hit harder or blah, 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 right? All that stuff. Those are your not clicky skills.
Yeah, you're passive.
Right. The second one is equipment's going to really matter in this game, right? Because, anybody can do anything, right? So, you want to shoot, you better have a gun. If you want to swing a sword, you better have a sword, right? And then, your passives will affect on how that works out. And equipment, of course, will have a rarity level and also, may give you abilities on its own, right? So it might actually enable a clicky, right? This is something that Diablo 3 used to do, right? Like, you could find a piece of equipment that would give you like summon skeleton, for a terrible example. And here's the third one. And I don't want to say this came out of a dream, but sort of did. Is the last piece was like, how do we give out the clickies, the abilities that you'll have on your toolbar that you'll fire off? And because we're not kind of going classless, I was like, are they just a drop and like you pick them up and then you freely pick something on a tree, or you beat a boss and he drops it? You have stolen his power. Matt, as soon as I told Matt this idea, immediately called it the Highlander rules.
There could be only one, man.
There can be only one.
Is a Highlander fan.
All right. So when you beat a boss, that unlocks a clicky of that style of boss, right? Yes. So if you beat a melee boss, he's going to drop a melee style ability. Are they RNG or not yet? I don't know. I think that's going to come out of test. They'll have multiple levels, right?
Yeah, so, I think you'll see a couple iterations of that. You'll see ones where they're tied, ones where they're not. We just have to play with it and see what feels good, because ultimately we don't want people farming one particular boss for powers, right? That would make the game kind of stupid. So, Alex, what happens when you fight a boss and you've taken the power from already? So this is kind of one of those interesting things. We can go two different ways. One, they can drop an adjacent power, or two, well, yeah, two, they could we could give a mastery level to those powers, like you become better with that power.
Which is probably how we
Or
want to go.
three, and I just thought of this, every time you replay a boss, it gets a different power.
Mhm.
So the melee guy may come out first with a thunder punch. The next time he's got a spinning kick. The third time he's got a grapple. We can, as long as we can keep the content rolling, we kind of could make this an infinite list.
And this also ties into one of the other things that we're talking about, just with the doing the homage stuff to the 80s and 90s games. I was having a real tough time like separating all these kind of cool powers from that era out into like an ability tree, right? Because they just don't line up. But I totally want to have like the ability to turn into a spinning ball and become Sonic. And I totally want to be able to, do Haikuden and shoot a fireball, right? Like I want all of that feel of the arcade, that old arcade feel, like, represented in our game, right? And it's not just, Tofu, I think there's gonna be a lot of bosses.
Yeah. There will be 1 or 2 bosses per level. So ask me how many levels there will be. I don't know. That's up to. That could be a long. Yeah, yeah. The idea. So he asked if it's that many that drop powers. Yes. The whole idea is that you are power collecting to try and fix the world.
Yeah, and and some of those, a lot of this will have to come out. Like the deeper I dive into it, and the more we play around with it,
and playtest.
Playtest.
You're gonna see some things come out of playtest, and we're gonna go. Well, you're gonna go. Oh, that doesn't work.
Right. Or you're gonna go, wow, I just totally exploited the hell out of this, and my my level 10 character can destroy everything because I just went and was able to get this particular power, right? Like that's just the stuff that happens in test.
Yep. So we're going to work a lot of this stuff out in playtest, but that's the initial concept that we're going to roll with into the first test.
All right. Well, before we move on to other stuff, questions, comments? I like that somebody already said that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
And I just want you guys to know that when I think of these things, the first thing I do is call Matt, right? And then the second thing I do is I run it by my 2 kids, one of which is in game design school. And if he doesn't eye roll, I know I'm onto something. Because, oh my God, he will, if it's a bad idea, he'll absolutely destroy me.
That's good. It's good to have people who do that. It's good to have gamers in the house. I don't have any. My 2-year-old doesn't know to do anything but chew on controllers.
It comes.
Mm-hmm.
So Tofu said, since you're power collecting, can you be able to give a power back to the original owner? No, but how about if you were able to take that power? Let's say you don't want that power, right? It's just not the way you want to build your dude. Sell it, NFT, sell it.
Like, wow, Chris. Now that we're just bullshitting on this, Highlander rules. What if he kills you the next time he got that power? You lose it.
I was actually thinking that while you were saying it, Matt. Like if you go in and he's a higher level tier, and then the boss kills you, he takes a random one of your powers. That's brutal, dude. We could do that at higher levels, but I'd want to take the first couple of power, like of play levels, normal and expert, and not do that.
Do you remember the Dark Quickening?
The Dark Quickening? No.
It's more from the Highlander TV series, but McLeod chops the head off of a particularly evil immortal, and he turns temporarily evil for a short time because he consumed too much negative energy. That might be kind of cool if you take on a boss and you consume his bad energy, you turn into a bad character for a short time.
I'm interested.
It definitely, like, and I don't know if we'll ever get here with this game, but this does definitely open up to some interesting PvP ideas, right?
Yeah.
But
power stealing will be a thing.
Oh, power stealing will be a thing, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, right? Like, I mean, it's brutal, right? It's
like
brutal.
racing for pink slips.
Well, right. Well, they don't know about that. I still want to do that game.
I do too.
When we were first talking about doing, this company, the first idea that we kind of came out with that everybody kind of went, that's not bad, was doing an idle racing game where basically the game is you build up your car, make it a good engine, and that kind of stuff, and then you race other people for pink slips. The pink slips being the NFT.
Yes.
And we'll get around to that. But I think it's a cash cow, frankly. And like, as a car guy, like that, I can't do that in real life.
Oh, that's private chat. How do I chat publicly? Oh, well, whatever.
You just did.
Yeah. Now, never mind. Yeah. So that was probably a thing for a good month.
Yep.
The idea was that it would kind of drive like slot cars, and it was super cute and a little bit hardcore. Like, you really had to be a Web3 degen to do this game, which ended up being kind of the killer of it.
Cash cow car game. The pink moves. It's a very slow race.
It is. And sometimes they just stop and eat grass. You really can't control them.
Right. So, Alex, with the art we were looking for, I don't know if there's any car guys out there, but like the art style that we were kind of playing around with was like, like the old 60s art style where it's like a crazy guy in top of has come out of the car and then like big stacks and
what's that artist's name?
I can't remember offhand, but like he's on like you see them on t-shirts still to this day, but it was a very specific like Motorhead style from the late 60s.
Yeah.
Death Mobile from Animal House. I don't know what that is. All right. What else we got? Oh, you want to talk about what we're doing with our little fuzzle friends?
I do. So this is just kind of a first look at some of the more detailed fuzzles. We got these literally this morning from our artist. I just thought they looked super cool. I think you guys, it's going to be so much fun to work with these guys. We're going to make some changes. We're going to make the bodies a little bit more V-shaped. But these guys they're coming along. They're going to be a great addition to our ecosystem and game. Yeah, that's really all.
Yeah. Gameplay wise, I don't have anything new to
not yet. I want to get them an engine first before we really talk about what they're going to do, because I want to see how we can rig them to move and what animations we can apply to them.
I love Don Martin, Jeffy. I love Don Martin, and I love his feet of all things. His feet always has that little curve on the toes. Again, showing my age here. That's Mad Magazine for does Mad even still exist? I don't know.
It's got to. Spy vs. Spy was always the best.
Spy vs. Spy. That was actually a pretty good cartoon on Cartoon Network for a little while.
Yeah, they did a cartoon version. Yeah, you're right. All right, sale update, guys. The sale site is going live on Monday. That's 5/12. We are going to be selling our fuse box as well as a 3-pack of characters that you're going to see in the trailer here shortly. This pack of 3 is going to cost 1 AVAX. Our whole sale is going to be done in AVAX, not USDC, USDT, not ETH. We're working in AVAX. We're working with the Avalanche chain, so we're going to stay on kind of their core token. So yeah, we're pretty excited for it. It's going to be good. As dryly as I can say that, it's going to be good.
And then just a reminder of our tiers.
Yep.
And this is the $100 tier, the $500 tier,
yep,
and the $1,500, and the one that you guys are all going to buy, which is the Founders tier. Please. And then on top of that, there'll be the characters for 1 AVAX, which is around $20 for all 3 of the little dudes.
Yeah, it's going to be roughly 20 USD. We are super excited. We added these characters a little late, in fact, this morning. And they're so cool, and we have them animated in the NFT. They look really good. And we were so excited when we started talking about kind of getting these characters out there. They'll also be the first ones that are in engine. We'll have a playground for you guys here soonish, where you can kind of feel our mechanics and jump around with them and climb and do all the things that they're going to do with movement.
Anybody else have some questions for us before we show the trailer? That's just because we say AVAX is up 14%. Jeffy says that's just because we announced.
Now, I will say, Jeffy, that's a good point. If AVAX completely jumps and goes crazy and goes up to 50, we're not going to sell it at 1 AVAX. It will be capped at, I think we're capping it at $18 or $19.
Will the info include an AVAX wallet setup, etc.?
We can definitely talk to that. I can put together a doc for that. MetaMask. That's probably the easiest way to do it. But yes, I can definitely put together something for that for Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is LeVar? You'll have to see, and you'll have to tell me. Tell me which one LeVar is. And if you guess right, I don't know.
You guess right, you're right.
You're right.
All right, shall we?
Well, let's see how the how live streaming the video works.
Oh, it's going to be perfect.
If it completely falls apart.
All right. And afterwards, this will also be on our YouTube channel. So like, share, put it on all your socials, send it to your mother, all that. All right, here we go, guys. Ooh.
I'm so excited. I'm so glad that came out. That came out the way that we wanted. It's so good.
Cool. Sorry, I can't get too excited. I've seen it like 40 times.
Yep. Tofu, you got the that part. He said Indiana Jones. It's a classic trope.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that is that was brought up, and I was like, "That's not gonna work." And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, look, it totally worked." LeVar's the dude with the goggles, like Geordie LaForge.
Yeah,
Get it?
LeVar
Get it?
Burton.
That's Matt's humor.
Also of Reading Rainbow fame. Any Reading Rainbow fans out there? Yeah, we all learned to read because of Geordie LaForge.
It's in a book. Take a look. It's a reading rainbow. That still gets stuck in my brain sometimes.
Exactly, man. Um, yeah, that classic scream. So it's called the Wilhelm scream, and Chris would probably know more than I do about its origins. But it started like it comes from the 40s or something.
So the Wilhelm scream comes from the Warner Brothers sound collection. There's actually more than one of them, but that's the one everybody knows. And Bill Burt of Star Wars fame always used it as his signature, right? So it's in Star Wars, it's in Indiana Jones, and since then, because all the sound designers since then and editors, you know, we all grew up on Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all that. People now put it in to basically homage Bill Burt and the amazing sound work that he did on those movies. And now I don't know if that's why people still do it. I think now at this point people do it because somebody else did it, kind of thing. I think we've hit maximum density on it. I can honestly say this is going to be the fourth or fifth time that something I've worked on has used it somewhere, either in a trailer or somewhere in a game. But yeah, it's actually property of Warner Brothers and was used originally in Westerns. And it is kind of a hilarious scream if you think about
Quite
it.
a few of them.
When I took film history at art school, they pretty much told us it was a meme before there were memes, right? Like
Yeah,
it just kept getting
it
used
Yeah.
by the sound engineers, and became a thing where you'd hear it in a movie and go, "Yep, I know that sound."
Yeah, no, it's a classic, and it's good to have a little history.
And if you don't know who Bill is, go look him up. Watch a documentary on the sound design of Star Wars. And yeah, the guy was absolute genius. You know, like where's the lightsaber sound from? Where's the TIE fighter sound from? And it's all natural environment stuff. It's kind of crazy. None of it's synth work back then. You know, it was all, you know, he went and like the lightsabers are like him hitting a high tension wire, right? Like, I mean, like just like I think the guy just walked around like San Francisco with a microphone. Right? All the rats in The Last Crusade are actually chickens sped up, right? Because rats don't really make noise. So they threw a bunch of rats into that sewer in the last, in The Last Crusade, right? And they're all quiet and they're like, ah. So they just went and recorded a chicken coop and sped it up. I am
so
full
creative what they were able to do those days.
Useless knowledge.
It looks like people. No, that was that's meant to be combat versus NPCs, not PvP.
Yeah, so you look at
dungeon is a term not to be taken literally. A dungeon is just an area. It can be outside, it can be inside. It's not a literal dungeon.
Yeah, it's turned into just shorthand for play area. basically.
Play area. Yep.
Um,
So
but,
we could start calling them zones or whatever.
but Tofu, look at it as this: is that the first part is like the mouthfeel we want you to be having while playing, right? Really into it, and the last part is that's what the gameplay is actually going to be looking like, right? But the feeling that we're going for is that high adventure, right? We don't
Yeah,
want the
the story is going
you
to
know
be the story is going to be comical. The environment's going to be cool and not super grimdark, and the action is going to be fast paced. We want fast paced, high twitch movement. And hopefully that came through in the trailer. I think it did, but I'll leave that to you guys. But we want fast paced action, a lot of combination movements, a lot of movement options, dodges and jumps and
right.
things.
Right.
That's going to be just so important to what we
Right,
do.
and it's like we want to lean into what our strengths are, and like frankly, Elliot's a strength, and so we know that like even if it's a simple button press to dodge, you could just slide the character over to the left, or they cartwheel, right? It all comes down to like you want to do everything in a certain amount of milliseconds and blah 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 blah, right? There's technical stuff,
Yeah,
but we know with Elliot, it's like if I go Elliot, I need a cartwheel that's 500 milliseconds long. He's just going to whip it out,
it gets done.
right?
Yeah,
So that gives us the
no
ability to
sweat.
make everything feel really, good and slick and fun. And you saw what he did in some of those trailers already, right? So and that's just a month or two of work, right? Imagine 6 months, right?
Right, and that's where we want to get to, and that's why like I said, guys, we haven't even been able to tap the full talent of this team yet. So we're super excited to do that. Yeah, I think there will be there will be dungeon-esque areas, and when you talk about dungeon, I'm assuming you mean like high fantasy, jail cells and shit like that. And there will absolutely be, and there will be some of that because some of that is reaching into the past that we want to reference.
But
We want to reference Ghosts and
yeah,
Goblins, and
we have to riff off
yeah,
of Gauntlet just because, right?
we do, we
Um,
do, absolutely. That was a guiding principle of what we were going to build, and I think it's still
yeah,
there, especially with the way we're playing multiplayer.
and yeah, and
So
like
yeah,
I mean, I've seen in my mind's eye you know levels that riff off of like the aesthetic of the original Pac-Man, which is just really blue and black and yellow. And but I'm like, you know what? This might look cool. Don't know yet. But like I see it up here and it could be really cool. Because the way we're doing this fractured universe thing is to get to a boss, a big boss, there'll be like 5 zones to go through to finish. So and each one of those zones will have a different flavor, right? So your journey could go from Pac-Man zone to Galaga zone to I'm not none of this is real, right? But just like Pac-Man zone to Galaga zone to the Defender zone to the Street Fighter zone to Alice in Wonderland, and then the boss in his own world. And so you're feeling the fracture as you're going on this journey to get to the boss, right? And with the way technology is now, I'll leave it to Big Money to like figure out a cool way to do transitions between these. If we can't do a cool transition between these and be seamless, then we just do a teleport portal or a door or something simple.
No,
It'll
I
absolutely
do
be a
want to answer
Tron.
this question.
Tofu, I can't tell you how much of a Tron fan I am. I can't even tell you.
I'm telling you, I think, and this will be a challenge for you, Big Monet. I want when a player gets hit, I want them to dissolve into voxels, like Tron-esque.
I might have something partly working, or that
Oh, I'm
right
sure
now
you do.
it's a dissolving effect. I'm animating a mask into the opacity channel of the material, and it makes the model look like it's dissolving away. But I'm pretty certain you can mix that with particles of cubes and get a cool effect.
Yeah, look
might
at-
be.
Yeah.
Did you tell everybody about Unreal Engine?
Yeah, that we're using it. Yes. So yeah, you can full go if you want to do a little nerd out on Unreal. Feel free.
Well, I'm just gonna, I was really active on Discord for a while, and then I disappeared. I just want to let people know that I applied for a fellowship program at Epic Games, and I was one of 50 people in North America to be let into the program. Huge surprise! It was so amazing because I know losing our previous jobs was kind of hard on everybody, but like when one door opens or closes, another one is always open for me. I wouldn't have had time for this fellowship program. It lined up with my vacation I just took, which was planned a year ago. So it seems like, everything's falling into place on its own, and it's meant to be. That's kind of how I look at life. But the last month I was in an intense training program with the people at Epic Games, learning Unreal Engine. We went through every aspect of it. Pretty much they were training all of the fellows to be indie developers. And I got the impression from them that the current state of the game industry, a lot of people are going indie again, working for themselves. And then when
revolution, man.
I told Matt and Chris, hey, I'm going to be offline for about a month to do this program. They were super cool with that, super supportive. And then, Matt told me, hey, let's look into Unreal Engine. Because I'm doing like this training. I have met a lot of awesome people too. And I'm pretty tired still. It was a really, really busy month for me. I had pretty much 8 hours of training a day and they're on East Coast time. So I was up at 5:30 in the morning every day, working till 4 o'clock, going to lectures and stuff all through Zoom. And I had to make my own little arcade game too at the time. I'm not a programmer, so it forced me to learn a lot. And I can bring those skills I learned back to this project.
Heck yeah!
So
that's it, man. I'm so happy you were able to do that. It's such a good opportunity. And yeah, I fully hope
it was welcome. Good news after the first great thing that happened this year for me. So that was overwhelmed with joy. I couldn't breathe when I got the email that I got into the program. So. And they only let you do it once, so there's no retaking it, and it's like pass or fail type of program.
Wow!
Right?
That's intense.
Yeah, you have to ship a product at the end. That's and I just had to have one kind of core game loop working. So the bar is low, but that's a lot to learn. And it was pretty much 3 weeks.
That's not low, man. You know how many people try to start out and do indie development and get halfway and don't actually even ship a core game loop. That's not a low bar at all.
Well,
that's intense.
Well, that's good to know. I always maybe undersell undersell things. It was really hard. It was really hard, really challenging. So I made a simple game. I'm just picking up blocks and stacking them, and which I thought was fun. I like to organize things.
So underselling it. He made these 2 giant cranes that had ropes underneath them. Like there's more there than I'm stacking boxes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you're gonna release that to Happy Valley?
Yeah.
I want to add a little more polish to it. I would love to do something with it. I decided I'm gonna make it from the perspective of a child. So I want to make it a play set you're playing with. Did you all watch Muppet Babies growing up? I did in the 80s. Yeah. So, or Toy Story, where you're sitting on the floor and all you see is like your parents' knees or their feet up to their knees and maybe the bottom of a bed and a window. Mm-hmm. So I was going to make a cityscape around my cranes, like a little miniature, but I thought, hey, this would be more charming if you're a kid playing with like wood blocks. So those blocks I showed you that I was stacking, I'm going to change them into the wood blocks with letters on them, like the alphabet, and you're just picking up and stacking them. So that's where I've been.
Totally do something with that.
That's why, I disappeared.
I like the goo goo sounds, and then when you do a good stack, it's like right. Like we'll record George.
Is that what you think kids sound like?
I don't know what kids sound like anymore. My kids are in their 20s, man.
Dude,
yeah, that's what they sound like sometimes around here still. So,
I mean, that's very true. Actually, my daughter's really into animal noises right now. Yeah, dude, you should totally. If Happy Valley, if you hear this, reach out to Big Monet. Get this thing published.
All right.
Oh.
All right. Well, we're about to wrap up. I just wanted to bring this up one more time. Here's a sales update. So we go live on Monday.
Yeah.
Help us, Obi-Wan. Spread the word. And
yeah, please.
And as we go out, let's just play the trailer again. Hell, why not? All right, one more time.
Yeah, let's play the trailer
There we go.
again.
All right, we'll talk to you all soon.
Yep, more information coming soon.
Peace.